Bhagwan Krishna finished his discourse in chapter 2. Now I'm going to talk about chapter 3. So when he said all this that he had to say to Arjun in chapter 2, at the end of that, he said something which struck Arjun as important and at the same time a point of escape. Arjuna requested Bhagavan Krishna, said, "O Janardhan, while mentioning about different ways to achieve the Supreme Soul, that is you also said that intelligence is better than the action. You asked me to do this ghastly work, but you said that was better. Why shouldn't I choose that path instead of fighting and killing all these people?" Bhagwan said, "Arjuna, there are two ways to achieve the Supreme, that is me. One is through philosophical work, through intelligent and philosophical work, and another is through the devotional service. But you must also remember that action or some work or karma is important for all of them. Even those saints who are recluse, who are not supposed to do any worldly activities, they also perform sacrifices. They do yajna, sacrifices to fire God. Why do they do that? Let me tell you that in the beginning of the creation of this planet, I appointed some demigods to look after the whole planet and all the creatures thereon, all the people, all the beings. These are the demigods, and they look after the planet, the environment, and the people. These saints worship them, they offer sacrifices, they do yajna. As a result of that, you get rains, and the rains germinate the seeds, and then the end result is that you get food, you get crops and food. But when you get the crops, the first and foremost duty is to offer prasad to Bhagavan. Otherwise, it would be called stealing. They also do some work. Besides doing their daily chores, they engage in these activities. And a man who is born to do something, remember that a person has to do something according to the modes of life. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they all have to perform their prescribed duties. Even I do some work, although I am not supposed to do any work, but I am doing something. Because if I don't do, people will follow my example and say that God is not doing anything, why should I do that? So, everyone has to perform certain duties of life, designated duties, prescribed duties. What are these prescribed duties? The duties that are according to my injunctions, according to my prescriptions, and according to Veda. The principles and guidelines are given. One has to work accordingly, not in an unprincipled manner, not in haphazard manner. The work has to be done properly. And while doing the work, one should not have a sense of belonging that, well, I am doing the work. There should be no ego in that. The work should be done so as to offer services to God. That, God, you have asked me to do this, I am doing as per your desire. So, the karma, a work, must be done by all without an exception. And the world cannot go on without karma. So karma is very important. But remember that while doing the work, the fruitive results and the desire to get results must not entertain into the mind, must not come to the mind. Because when that comes, there is no end to it. You must know that the lust is insatiable. It is an eternal enemy. The lust resides in the senses and it resides in the mind. And unless you get rid of that, you won't be free. Remember that if you just control senses and not the mind, that you would be called a pretender. A man who does not control the mind and he says that I have controlled the senses, I am not doing anything, but his mind is still fickle, then he is pretending. So the ultimate thing is to control the mind. And that must be done through the practice. This you have to remember all the time. And your duty as a Kshatriya is to fight. And only by fighting and doing your work without feeling any thinking about consequences, loss or gains, you go on doing it, only then you will be liberated. This is how you can do it. The saints have a different way to do it, and therefore you must control senses and you must fight out the lust, the eternal enemy. Remember that the body is better than the dull matter, and senses are better than the body. Mind is better than the senses. Intelligence is better than the mind. And above all, the finest part is the soul resident in all beings. This is the essence of chapter 3.